Hey Earthlings!
Welcome back!
It's time for the last video in our series of spiritual ego traps.
And if you're not familiar with the series, here where we explored the most common dynamics that come up when we are in our spiritual journey. And those dynamics usually block us from moving to the next stage or moving even deeper in our healing journey, in our awakening journey, in becoming more of who we are, which is pure expression of Source. So we want to invite you to watch all these dynamics that will help you more reflect on your journey and see maybe where we are stuck.
Yeah, so watch the 7 videos that we filmed before if you haven't done so yet. And the last spiritual ego trap that we want to share with you is the seer or the shadow hunter. And this is a person who has a very high ability to perceive things about other people through feeling what's happening in them emotionally or simply, psychically perceiving things.
And where this can get dangerous when this person is not really checking if his or her perception is true. When there is a projection on, let's say, Mia, you are very quiet today, you must be upset about something. And in many cases, there is a story attached to the projection. For example, I can have a story that she's upset because I didn't make smoothie for her this morning, as I promised. Or she might be interested or attracted to somebody else. So there might be many stories that hurt the relationship, and in many cases, they are not true.
And now if he would want to check my subjective reality, if this is true, he would bring curiosity and ask, what are you feeling? Is it true?
So it would be something like, hey Mia, what's happening in you? I'm curious to why you're not smiling as you usually do.
And then maybe I tell him, you know what, I slept really bad. Or maybe I have period cramps. And it might not be the reason why he thought.
Yeah.
So the trap here is putting your own perception of people and things above the subjective reality of that other person. Not bringing curiosity to them.
And that can lead to gaslighting, that can lead to manipulation, that can lead to a serious emotional injury in the relationship where the other person is really confused about themselves. And usually those people have a very strong magical and effective character where they draw attention, where they have big influence over people. So if they share their observation or share their projection with such a certainty, this will create a confusion in people around them, and that can lead to a serious depression or self-doubt.
The tricky thing is that sometimes they indeed perceive accurately. Sometimes they indeed see something that the other person is not yet able to see about themselves or take in about themselves. And when you bring something like that without inquiring, is that person ready to face that? It's also not healing. It's not usually something that the other person can take in. And they might just reject the observation or become more resistant to seeing the reality. So here the important thing is to ask yourself, why do you need to share it with them? Why do you need them to see it? Is it really that you're helping, or is it actually about you? Are you pointing out their shadow in order to have the upper hand? Or are you perhaps seeking to be the one giving advice and therefore being the superior one? And when you're truly helping, you're coming from a place of empathy. And you can ask yourself, am I really coming from love? Or do I have another intention? And vice versa. If somebody is pointing to you your shadows or something you don't see about yourself, ask yourself, do I feel that this person is coming from a loving place? Do I feel safe to open up? Because if your inner guidance is telling you to not open up, that's also valid. You should respect that. And maybe that's your inner guidance system telling you that they are in fact not coming from a place of love and they have another motive.
And if you think that you're really helping people, it's still important to check with them if they want to receive your reality, if they want to receive your perception and not just vomit it to them. And if they do actually want to receive it, it's a moral duty on you to check 100% if this what you're perceiving is accurate, and if not, to share it humbly and bring in that this might not be the case. And here where many spiritual teachers fail to this trap because they believe they're the most deeper shadow work facilitator or the most enlightened one in their career or the most enlightened one in their field, and they end up gaslighting people around them and creating such a confusion in their community So they're creating such a level of hierarchy and dependency on them that they are this irreplaceable figure in the community that the community can't live without. And this is quite dangerous and can turn into a cult-like community.
Yeah, so here, in the worst case scenario, the person who is receiving the analyzing and the projection and the advice might completely disconnect from themselves and say, oh, you know what, maybe I don't know myself. Maybe you know me better than I know myself.
Yeah.
This does not empower an individual, even if the other person has more information about you than you do. Yeah. What empowers an individual is helping them to discover their truth themselves. Maybe there is anger inside of that person that they cannot access at the moment. But with the right inquiry, they may get in touch with that themselves.
Yeah.
It never empowers us or helps us to simply accept things from the outside, especially when it relates to ourselves.
Yeah.
No one can know you better than you know yourself.
Yeah. So red flags, if you see some people in your life that you perceive them, they know more than you about yourself, they are able to see you more than you can see yourself. These are all red flags that you need to inquire on those people's reality. Are they really having the best intention? Are they really having cult-like attitude? Are they really having a loving energy coming towards you when they bring in those suggestion? Or maybe, I mean, like when they bring it, it's not a suggestion, it's like, this is reality like that. This is what we are talking about. When it's suggestion, or when it's coming with humbleness, and maybe I might be wrong in my suggestion.
So the good way to test that person's intentions is to see if they are open to differing viewpoints. Like if you challenge them in a way and say, I'm not sure if that's what I feel. And check how they react. Do they insist, or do they become open to you? Like, oh, okay, well, I'm curious to hear what it is that you feel.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of humility, actually, from people to drop into being potentially wrong.
Yeah.
To offering what they see, their perception, with humility, with also reverence to the individual's perspective and their internal reality, because each of us is the only one who truly experiences ourselves. So another person from the outside can never know exactly what is happening inside of a person, because they are not that person. They are not living that reality.
Yeah. Even if they convince you they are master channeler, even if they convince you they are enlightened master, they are Pleiadian or whatever species they are, they will not be able to know your full reality the same way you do. So don't fall to those traps, and don't fall to those spiritual teachers.
Actually, this kind of behavior comes from a trauma, as always, you know. And the trauma that we have identified, there could be more different scenarios.
And let us know in the comment below if you have other explanations.
Yeah, but one of them is that this person may have experienced in their childhood a lot of lack of control, unpredictability, and actually that their reality has been invalidated, that their subjective reality has been invalidated and they've been gaslit. So now they have the need to control reality by them knowing what is happening in each person and them having the answers for everything.
Yeah.
Therefore having control because they can predict.
And always there is unsafety in their system. That's the underlying level where they can't accept different version of reality, because this is how their mind or their ego structured the world. So if there is something that challenged their worldview, that might collapse the whole house of cards where they build their safety around. And this is very tricky when spiritual teacher or people who pretend to be a spiritual teacher or spiritual guide tap into this way of advising or giving guidance, because it can be really damaging and can infiltrate the way their followers perceive the reality and the world at large.
Yeah, and it creates this, like you said, hierarchic way of relating where one person is above the other, instead of accepting that all of us have a piece of the puzzle to contribute, even if we don't communicate it with spiritual terminology or as eloquently as the other person. All of us have valuable insights. It's like we are all have eyes, one viewpoint, all the whole picture of life, and we each need to be able to contribute that viewpoint.
And we can do that only when we are all humble to each other's reality and not putting ourselves in a pedestal and other people are ignorant or unaware.
Yeah.
We need all to come together and share our authentic truth from the deep of ourselves to be able to co-create this image of collective reality.
if you want to see what is underneath this kind of behavior, you can think about what would happen if somebody was successfully able to challenge that person's viewpoint. Their reality and sense of control would crumble, and underneath there would probably be a insecure and scared child, actually.
Yeah.
So actually what we're dealing with is deep level of insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
It is a false confidence. It is a compensation for feeling insecure.
Yeah.
So the key here is also to recognize true confidence, which comes from trust. Confidence in Spanish is confianza, which means trust.
Yeah.
And only then you can stand, in your center and truth, and you don't need to convince others of your reality.
Another way to spot those dynamics that activated in some people is to look at their community and people around them. Are they surrounded with people who confirm their belief, especially spiritual belief, and their attitude about the world? Are they surrounded with people who just agree with them and not really challenging their point of view?
Codependency.
When some people challenge them, when some people of their community challenge their views about the world or about their interaction, are they really open to take it in and reflect and show vulnerability to the community? So here where it gets critical, because those people who are trapped in the spiritual ego trap, they are incapable of self-reflection and showing vulnerability to their community member.
And people in their lives in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a big one, guys. Pay
Yeah.
attention. If you notice any of these traits in yourself, it might be difficult to accept it, but especially see if anybody around you is in this trap.
And I'm very curious to see if any of you noticed some spiritual teacher that they have those attitudes. Write it in the comment below. I'm very curious to read it.
Yes,
Yeah.
so curious. Thank you for watching, and thank you for being with us on this journey of the ego traps. And if you haven't watched the 7 previous ones, you can do it
shouldn't
now.
miss it out. You shouldn't miss out. They're really beautiful and they will help you move so much quicker in your healing journey. And we see you in other videos.
Yes.
And by the way, Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!